Hey guys, Joshnic here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own DJ tools, mashups, edits, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to be using Ableton here, and what I'm going to do firstly is just show you a bit of a breakdown of how I've made some of my edits, just to kind of show you what I've done and how I've kind of put them all together, and then we'll actually go and create an edit from scratch right here, so you can kind of follow through with me step by step, just I guess my process on how I put them together. There's no real right or wrong way on how to do this. Again, this is just my methods of how I make my mashups. It works for me, so let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is an edit from one of my latest edit packs. It's actually a re-edit of an old edit. I'll just give you a quick preview.
Ill behavior's back once again for the renegade master. D4 damager, power to the people's back once again for the renegade master. D4 damager, the ill behavior's back once again, 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 I'm a brainless motherfucker.
So opening up the project file, you're going to look at it and go, wow, that's really basic. It is. We're starting off with an easy one, guys, and then I'll go through the next edit's going to be a bit more of a complicated one. I've done a lot more work on too. So if we just zoom in on here, I'll just basically break down the main parts to this edit. So what we've got here is the first track. And what I've done here is basically looped the first 8 bars of the track after the intro. So this part here.
Once again for the renegade master, D4 damager, power to the people's back once again for the renegade master, D4 damager, the ill behavior's back once again for the renegade master, D4 damager, power.
I've also put an EQ on there, and I've just taken out all of the low end. If I just remove that, you'll just hear, I think it's mostly in the kick.
Once again for the renegade master, D4 damager, power to the people's back once again for the renegade.
Basically just to clean it up so that once I'm playing this over the top of another track, the low end doesn't collide and make it sound all muddy. So basically loop that part here, and then what I've done is I've looped the back once again and just looped it again and again and again and again here. So I think that's like, so it's like 8 times, and then cut it in half again and looped that and just make it go faster and faster. And I've also pitched it up as well. So if we take off the pitching, it just sounds like this.
Back once again, 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 once again, once again, once again, once again for the renegade master.
So that's it really. And with the pitch automation here, I actually changed the warp mode to texture. I found it just seemed to come up with a bit of a cooler sound. Most people just leave it on complex or complex pro. If you leave it on that, I'll show you what it sounds like. It's basically, you know, just a normal pitch up.
Back once again, 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 once again, once again, once again,
kind of boring. It doesn't sound that great, but when I was mucking around with these, I put texture on and just put the grain size to 2, flux to 0, so basically minimal for everything. And this is how it sounds when you change it to that mode.
Back once again, 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 once again, once again, once again,
Yes, it just sounds cooler. Always good to muck around with these. I like mucking around with the texture warp mode a lot. It just seems to come up with some really cool things. You can mess with the grain size. It just depends on what you're doing. I find it works best whenever you're changing the speed of something or going up or down in pitch, even if it's just transpose up or down, you know, a few semitones, throw texture on and it's going to change the sound completely. So that's pretty much all I've done with this track here. And then with the other track, it's just really simple. I've just got Hide and Seek by Zomboy. What I've also done is throw a auto filter, and I've automated that just basically opening up. So over the course of those 16 bars, it just opens all the way up. And also whilst doing that, I've actually thrown another EQ on, and I've automated this just so that's basically on throughout the part where the vocals from the other track are playing, and then once the pre-drop vocals come in and the other track stops, everything just turns off. And reason why I brought these down here around the 1K mark, it just lets the vocals cut through a bit more. I just find if you leave that as is, the vocals don't cut through the mix as well. Basically just makes your vocals sound a lot cleaner. It's kind of similar to using the mid knob and just turning that down whilst you've got 2 tracks playing if you're DJing. So I'll play this without the effects and you'll kind of see what I mean.
Once again for the renegade master, D4 damager, power to the people's back once again for the renegade master, D4 damager, the ill behavior back. Once again, once again, once again.
pretty messy. Throw the auto filter on.
Once again, roll the renegade master. D4 damager. Power to the people's back. Once again, roll the renegade master. D4 damager. The ill behavior's back. People's back. Once again, roll the renegade master. D4 damager. The ill behavior's back. Once again, roll back. Once again, roll back. Once again, roll back. Once again, roll back. Once again.
You'll notice the biggest difference here once I turn this off and on.
Roll back. Once again, 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 once again, once again, once again.
I'ma bring this motherfucker.
And that's basically it. The last thing I do, and this is something I put on all of my edits, I just throw on Ozone. I've literally just made a preset for this. Nothing else. It's just the Ozone Maximizer. You can use any version of Ozone. I leave it on IRC 4, leave it on Modern. Threshold and ceilings both at 0 dB. And I just have the character here just down at 0. And what that's basically going to do is just chop off any bits where it might be clipping without really affecting the whole sound too much, because I don't have two full tracks playing over the top of each other. It's more just vocals over another track. You don't lose a lot of quality in the sound. If you've got two tracks playing right over the top of each other, it's going to be limiting a lot more and you might notice a bit of a difference in the sound. But I find this is the best way to basically put two tracks over the top of each other, no clipping, and still keep it as loud as possible without squashing the sound too much. So that's basically the first edit there. Now the second edit, this one's going to be a little bit more complex and I've done a lot more stuff with it. Don't worry if you're new to this and you don't really know 100% what I'm doing. You can kind of just dissect this video and just replay it, go through it a couple times and just see exactly what I've done here. Alright guys, so this is the next edit I'm going to show you now. I've done a little bit more work with this one here, but let's try my best to break it down for you. It's Purple Lamborghini into Banger ID by Spock. What I had to do for this edit, I actually needed to get the instrumental for Purple Lamborghini. Throw it under the full version of Purple Lamborghini, phase invert the instrumental by getting a utility, phase inverting left and right channels, and basically bouncing down this audio into its own file, which would be the vocals on its own. So I'll show you what they sound like.
Biggest boss and I've been a trillist. Biggest bitches, the revolution's born. You wanna know my name to go?
It's not 100% perfect, but once you've got another track over the top of it, you can't even tell. This is the best way I've found to, get your own vocals. If the track hasn't released the acapella themselves, if they have an instrumental available, get that instrumental, phase invert it, play it back. Once you've got everything perfectly aligned, they both have to be exactly aligned or it's not going to work. You're going to get a lot of phasing. Once they're aligned, hit play, make sure you can only hear the vocals, or at least, most of the vocals and almost none of the track beneath it. Render it down to audio, and then you've basically got yourself the acapella you can use for remixes, mashups, whatever you want to do with it. So what I've done here, I've got the original playing here, got the isolated vocals on these tracks here, and I've got the Banger ID underneath. Together, it sounds like this.
Don't you know that pussy work? Ain't no mercy, ain't no mercy. Purple Lamborghini. Flooded Rolex and the Grammy Awards. They still selling dope, that's those Miami boys. Killers everywhere, it ain't no place to run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pointed at your dome.
First of all, I've got the Purple Lamborghini vocals here. Now, I've actually automated the track to be off and only turn the track on once the original track is finished. Because what I've done here is I've actually thrown on some reverb and also ping pong delay, which I've also automated to just turn on the last section of the song, which is this part here. And as long as I've got the automation set to start on this part here, the actual delayed audio that you're going to hear would be the worth it. If I start it earlier, it sounds like this. Too much going on, so I just got the last words there, and then channel turn off and on so that you won't hear it until that turns on there. So basically just so I can get the tail end of everything. And then all I've done here is thrown the other parts of the vocals to kind of chop them up, picked what parts worked best for me. Now what I've done is I've got a utility on here, just animating the volume and balance, so the left and right, just full left all the way to the right, right to the left, and then back into the middle. The reason why I did a utility for the volume and panning automation rather than just doing it on the channel itself is because I've got this preset here, Bass Clef's Easy Washout. I'll actually leave a link to this in the description. Amazing like little chain here. If I do the volume and panning automation prior to all the extra effects going on in this chain, it's just going to sound a lot better rather than panning and volume automating the full reverb and delay and everything like that. So without that chain, it just sounds like this. Pretty dry as soon as you whack that on. And I've also automated that just to go up a little bit and then bring it down for the vocals here and then bring it all the way down to 0. So I basically wanted the vocals that are panning left and right and are a bit more quiet to be a lot more wet. And then once the vocals are back smack bang in the middle and volume's also gone up a lot more, I just wanted to bring the wet down just so they're a little bit more front and center. So solid, it sounds like this.
Ain't no mercy, ain't no mercy. Got that purple Lamborghini lurking.
Now dry.
Flooded Rolex at the Grammy Awards. They still selling dope, that's those Miami boys.
Now for this track here, I didn't do the EQ pulling the mids down. I thought because I was having the vocals on these parts here where there's not a lot going on, I kind of didn't really need to do that. I could have done it on the build up here, but I mean, you don't always have to do it. There's no real rules to it. That EQ trick can be used in every circumstance, doesn't have to be. At the end of the day, as long as it sounds good, doesn't matter what you're doing. Do whatever you want. It's up to you. This is just how I'm doing things. Now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and make an edit from scratch. I'm going to try and keep this fairly basic, but I'm just going to do whatever sort of comes to mind. So apologies in advance if I make this a bit too complicated for some. Let's just go ahead and get it done. So first thing you want to do is find a track that you want to do an edit with. I won't pick something too mainstream because I don't want this video getting taken down. Weeble Wobble. Actually, yeah, that one there. Now, if you've got MP3s, there is going to be a bit of gap in your audio there right at the start. It's just something that MP3s do. All you need to do, this is the easiest way I find, just double click on the track, zoom in a bit, find this one here, not the top one, this one here, just drag that just until you get to the start of the beat. Now the easiest way to determine the BPM of a track, just count 9 beats in the track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that 9th beat, you want to be in line with that. So we just grab the BPM slider, bring that down, and keep doing that till everything goes into alignment. Easiest way to check to see if you've done right, just scroll through the track. If it's out of BPM at all, these are going to be out of alignment, but as you can see, everything is in beats. So this track's 126 beats per minute. Now we need to find our other track that we're going to mash this one up with. Let's pick some of that new Dogblood music. And as you can see, that track also is at a different BPM. It's actually slower. I think it's probably about 124. That's just my guess. What we will need to do, hit warp, and then go to Complex Pro and Formats, change that to 50. It just seems to have a much better sound rather than leaving it on Complex. And all we need to do now is just click on the BPM number here. I usually just use the arrow keys here because it's usually within only a couple of numbers. We're just going to press down or up depending on how fast the song is until everything comes into a line. Yeah, 124, that's all in line. Now, one thing I have noticed as well, whenever you're speeding up or slowing down a track, if you look at the volume over here in the meters, you can see it's clipping by about 4 dB. Easiest way to fix that, just throw on that template I showed you earlier with my master. So this will go on the master, but I'll also throw it on any tracks that I'm speeding up, slowing down, or if you're adding an EQ to it, that tends to also make it clip sometimes, and that's just going to stop that from happening. It doesn't really change the sound much. But now everything's just sitting at 0. What I'm thinking I'm going to do with this track is keep the drop for Weeble Wobble, but use everything else from Full Mind. So I'm just going to cut out the drop if I can find it. Now, a quick way to deactivate a track rather than completely deleting, if you press 0 that will just deactivate it. So just turns it off. That way you don't have to delete things and you can go back and reactivate it if needed. We'll just leave that off for now. I'll just make these a bit bigger so it's easier to see. Throw an EQ on this one because there is a bit of bass. Anything between 100 to 200 hertz is generally what I would do. Just whatever sounds good. And then I'm just going to show automation on the EQ, and we'll just turn that off once the vocals come in. Because this track actually ends early, what we might do is throw a bit of reverb on this just to kind of give that a bit of a tail. And what I'm also going to do is just bring the volume of that down by about -2 dB, just so it's not too harsh, like too full into the mix. And we'll just throw that washout preset on there. Really easy, just automate that. If you want to select, a large portion of something, just drag across, grab that automation line, and you can do that. With this, I wouldn't recommend going anything over maybe 80, 90, otherwise it just gets too cluttered. But even something around like 30, 40 is probably pretty good. Actually, what I might do is do the opposite, so make it really wet coming in, so it's kind of fading in, and then leave that there. And again, like I did in that other track, I'm just going to throw utility on, put that before the washout. And just going to automate that, just so it's a little bit quieter coming in. Just want to keep it fairly quiet, and then once the vocals come in, wham, it comes straight in. So let's just have a quick listen, just see how this sounds. Getting there, but I think we could do better. I'm just gonna scroll through this track, see if maybe there's something further down the line that we could use. Sometimes I change things. Something for your... Exactly, so see how this first build up, it ends earlier, whereas this one, it's different. So I'm just going to cut that out, paste it in there, just remove that. Now this might be cool, something to throw people off, because it's got a little bit of an airy. So we'll just delay it by 1 beat and then have the vocals come in. I think that might be pretty cool. Let's have a listen. Actually, let's bring that down again. What I'm going to do here is actually just double that, make it slower. So just going to completely delay the drop by a whole beat, whole 2 beats. That's pretty cool. Now this sounds like it's a bit, you can kind of hear a bit of a stretching going on. Let's see how it sounds with texture. That sounds kind of cool. Now that's great. Only thing, I think I can hear just a tiny thing coming in just there. Alright, I think that should fix it. Now, one other thing I think we should do is maybe have like a reversed cymbal or reversed white noise effect come in there. Now, what you can do is if you have like a sample on there, just use something like this maybe. That's a quick and easy way to do it. What I might do is I'll use one of these and I'll show you how to make your own as well. Now what we'll do, we'll make a new track, copy this, and we're actually going to reverse that. Solo this for the minute, and we're just going to throw on some reverb. I'm just going to use Valhalla Room, and just going to get something. And what we're going to do here, once we've got something that works, it doesn't have to be crazy good. What we're doing here is essentially creating a reverb using the sound from the actual track. A lot of people do this with vocals. It's just something that's cool. It probably will fit a lot better than the sample I threw in. Once you're happy with your reverb, all you need to do, right click the track, hit freeze. Once that's done, hit flatten, delete that part. Press Command E, Control E. What I'm doing, you just click anywhere, and that will split the track from there. Delete it, and then all we need to do from here, just reverse it again. So if I take that off, and we just listen to this. Pretty cool. What I might do is just bring the volume of that down, something like that. Now what I do with these as well, just say for instance, okay, this obviously doesn't fit the full, full few bars there. Just hit warp on that, complex pro, whichever, it doesn't really matter. It's just a reversed crash here. And where it says end, where that little red number is, you just want to extend that to 4. Actually, I'll take that back. Go one more. There. And then all you need to do is where this is here, go to the end of the sound and you'll see there's like a warp marker kind of already pre-made there. Just double click, that'll put it there. And then you can just drag the sound out to fill the rest of that gap. What I might do is bring that one down quite a bit. I'm just going to solo these, see how they sound together. Sounds all right. And we'll just have another play and see how that goes. I don't really like this sound, but I'm gonna transpose it, see if that will make it sound a bit better. Another cool thing you can do, if you press A, that will just switch between your automation and the other mode. I actually don't know what it's called, to be honest. But once you have automation mode switched off, see these little dots here, you can actually use those to create fade-ins or fade-outs of your track. So I'm just going to fade this track in a bit, bring that down a little bit more, and see how this sounds. Look, I think that's fine, to be honest. You don't need to go crazy with this, as long as everything, it works, it flows well, it's EQ'd correctly, it should be fine. Last but not least, we'll just throw that preset on again. I've just called it Edits Master. It's not really a master, but it's just a limiter there, 0 threshold. And now all we need to do, play it through and see how our edit sounds.
Weeble bobble for the hell of it, definite grabber.
And that's all done. Really simple, guys. Just main thing is trying to work out what songs go well together. That's for starters. If they're in the same key, even better. Working out, how can I, what elements does this track have that I can kind of use to my advantage. I thought, extending this little reverb sort of sound here to kind of delay the drop could be, something cool, something different live. And yeah, I think it works. So anyways, that's pretty much all from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I've been able to teach you guys a few things in this video series, the DJing, record box organizing sort of things, the mashups, all of it. Once, just put the ton of practice in, it's going to help you, a lot. It's going to make your DJ sets stand out a lot more. And if you're wanting to get into producing as well, making edits is the best way to get into it. It doesn't involve a whole lot like producing does, but it does teach you, a lot of things, and it's how I got started with producing, by making my own edits. Everything that I've done here, everything I've done in all my edits has all been self-taught. So, it just teaches you things like EQ, mastering, all sorts of stuff. If you want to get really technical, when you're doing some edits, you can even sidechain, make your own fake kick to make your tracks fit in the mix better with another track. There's so many things you can do just with making DJ edits. that can really help you, you know, get a kind of understanding for how this software or any music production software works, and, you know, hopefully get you into the game of producing music, which is a whole nother ball game. I'm still trying to learn how to do it, but it is something that's, I think it's a really good way to start, especially, you know, getting into the scene. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned for more upcoming content soon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Activate radio contact with the outside.